You are not ordinary. You are not meant to live small. You are not meant to shrink your standards, your faith, or your dignity just to fit into this world. Allah created you with honor, with purpose, with a mission, and He crowned you with Iman. Yet many women forget who they are. They lower their boundaries. They tolerate disrespect. They accept love that costs them their peace. They stay silent when their soul is screaming. This message is your reminder. You are a queen not because of the world, but because Allah chose you. Now it's time to start living like it. Queens know their worth in Allah. A queen who knows her worth in Allah does not wake up questioning her value. She rises with the quiet certainty that her Creator saw her before the world ever did. Her confidence is not built on compliments, relationships, or attention. It is built on the knowledge that Allah formed her with intention, honored her with Iman, and entrusted her with a soul that deserves respect. This understanding shapes how she thinks, how she speaks, and how she walks through life. Because when a woman knows who she belongs to, she no longer doubts who she is. When a woman anchors her worth in Allah, she is no longer shaken by the opinions of people. Praise does not inflate her, and criticism does not destroy her. She understands that human judgment changes with emotion, circumstance, and desire. But Allah's view of her is constant and unchanging. This stability protects her heart from becoming a prisoner of approval and frees her to live with authenticity, dignity, and courage. A queen who knows her worth in Allah does not compete with other women. She celebrates them, learns from them, and supports them because her value is not threatened by the success of others. She understands that Allah's provision of honor, love, and purpose is not limited, and what is written for her cannot be taken by anyone else. This knowledge replaces insecurity with serenity and jealousy with inner peace. When hardship enters her life, she does not assume it means she is unloved or forgotten. Instead, she recognizes trials as part of Allah's plan to strengthen, purify, and elevate her. She remembers that Allah tests those He loves and refines the hearts He intends to raise. Her worth does not shrink in suffering. It shines through it because her faith grows deeper and her resilience stronger with every challenge she survives. A queen who knows her worth does not chase validation through relationships. She does not beg to be chosen, feared being alone, or stay where her heart is disrespected. She understands that companionship is a gift, not a necessity for self-worth, and she refuses to exchange her dignity for temporary attention. Her standards are not walls of arrogance, they are gates of self-respect protected by faith. She speaks to herself with kindness because she knows Allah is gentle with her. She does not insult her own soul, shame her own growth, or condemn herself for learning slowly. She treats her heart as an amana from Allah, nurturing it with patience, prayer, and forgiveness. This compassion becomes her strength, not her weakness. A queen who knows her worth in Allah does not tolerate what diminishes her spirit. She walks away from environments that poison her peace, conversations that corrupt her heart, and relationships that pull her away from Allah. She chooses herself not out of selfishness, but out of obedience to the one who commanded her to protect her soul. When she fails, she does not drown in guilt. She turns back to Allah with repentance and hope, knowing that His mercy is greater than her mistakes. Her worth is not erased by her flaws. It is refined by her willingness to return to Him again and again. This humility keeps her grounded while her faith keeps her rising. A queen who knows her worth does not fear aging, change, or transition. She understands that every stage of her life carries beauty, wisdom, and purpose. She does not cling to the past or fear the future because her heart is anchored in the present moment with Allah, where peace truly lives. She is not easily impressed by material success or worldly status. She measures life by closeness to Allah, not by possessions or popularity. This perspective shields her from envy and fills her with gratitude for what truly matters: faith, health, growth, and inner peace. A queen who knows her worth in Allah listens carefully before she reacts. She responds with wisdom instead of emotion and chooses silence when words would harm more than heal. Her calm is not emptiness, it is strength under control. She invests in her growth because she believes she is worth the effort. She guards her prayers, feeds her mind with beneficial knowledge, and disciplines her habits because she knows her future deserves the best version of her. This commitment transforms her life quietly but powerfully. A queen who knows her worth does not allow fear to dictate her choices. She takes steps forward even when uncertain, trusting that Allah guides the one who moves toward Him with sincerity. Her courage grows each time she chooses faith over comfort. She forgives not because others deserve it, but because her heart deserves freedom. She releases resentment before it poisons her peace, knowing that Allah is the ultimate judge of every soul. This lightness becomes her crown. A queen who knows her worth does not waste her life waiting for permission to live fully. She builds, grows, learns, and becomes, knowing that Allah created her to rise, not to remain small. She understands that her worth does not increase when people praise her, nor does it decrease when they misunderstand her. Her value was written by Allah before the world formed opinions, and that truth never changes. A queen who knows her worth in Allah moves through life with quiet confidence, not loud, not arrogant, but steady, grounded, and sure of who she is and where she is going. She does not measure herself by the speed of others or the achievements she sees around her. She trusts Allah's timing for her story and walks her path with patience and grace. A queen who knows her worth never forgets that she is a servant of Allah before anything else, and that servitude is her greatest honor. In that knowledge, she stands unshakable, unbreakable, and unstoppable. And when the world tries to convince her she is ordinary, she smiles quietly because she knows the truth. Allah created her with purpose, crowned her with Iman, and called her to rise. A queen does not chase, she chooses. A queen who understands her place in the world does not run after people, attention, or validation. She stands firmly where Allah has placed her, knowing that what is written for her will come to her without desperation or force. Chasing drains the soul, but choosing nourishes it. When a woman learns to choose instead of chase, her heart becomes steady, her mind becomes clear, and her life begins to reflect the dignity Allah intended for her. A queen does not beg to be noticed, because she knows she is already seen by Allah. She does not exhaust herself proving her worth to those who refuse to recognize it. She chooses peace over pursuit, clarity over confusion, and alignment over attachment. In doing so, she protects her heart from the quiet wounds that chasing always leaves behind. When a woman stops chasing, she stops abandoning herself. She no longer tolerates being overlooked, taken for granted, or treated as an option. She chooses environments where she is respected, conversations that uplift her spirit, and relationships that draw her closer to Allah. This is not pride, it is self-respect grounded in faith. A queen chooses her path carefully. She does not follow crowds blindly or allow emotions to dictate her decisions. She listens, reflects, prays, and then steps forward with confidence. This thoughtful approach saves her from unnecessary pain and guides her toward a life of stability and purpose. She understands that chasing often comes from fear, fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear of not being enough. But when she places her trust in Allah, those fears begin to dissolve. She realizes that what is meant for her cannot escape her, and what is not meant for her is not worth exhausting her heart. A queen chooses her words, her time, and her energy with intention. She does not invest deeply where she is not valued. She does not pour her heart into situations that compromise her peace. Every choice becomes an act of worship when it is guided by faith. When she is faced with uncertainty, she does not rush. She waits with patience, knowing that Allah's timing is never late and never wrong. This patience becomes her strength, and her calm becomes her crown. A queen does not chase approval. She chooses integrity. She does not chase acceptance. She chooses authenticity. She does not chase affection. She chooses devotion to Allah first. And through that devotion, she finds the love and respect she deserves. She knows that chasing often leads to loss of self, while choosing leads to discovery of self. Every time she chooses what honors her soul, she grows stronger, wiser, and more confident in who she is becoming. A queen chooses growth over comfort. She walks away from habits that weaken her and builds routines that strengthen her faith. She invests in her knowledge, her character, and her future because she believes her life is an amana entrusted to her by Allah. She does not compete with others for space or recognition. She creates her own space through excellence and sincerity. Her presence becomes felt not because she seeks attention, but because her character reflects depth and purpose. A queen chooses relationships that nourish her heart and protect her iman. She surrounds herself with people who encourage her to pray, to grow, and to strive for what pleases Allah. She understands that companionship should elevate her, not exhaust her. When disappointment comes, she does not spiral into desperation. She returns to Allah with trust, knowing that every closed door is a form of protection. She chooses to believe that something better awaits her, even when she cannot yet see it. A queen chooses forgiveness not to excuse others, but to free her heart. She refuses to carry resentment that weighs her down and blocks her peace. Her heart remains light because she places her burdens with Allah. She does not chase happiness through people or possessions. She chooses contentment through faith, gratitude, and purpose. This contentment becomes the foundation of her joy. A queen chooses courage over fear. She takes steps toward her goals even when uncertain, trusting that Allah guides the sincere. Every brave choice strengthens her soul. She chooses discipline when laziness tempts her, sincerity when shortcuts appear, and consistency when motivation fades. These choices shape her destiny. A queen does not chase the past. She chooses the future Allah is preparing for her. She releases what no longer serves her and walks toward what aligns with her faith and vision. She chooses silence when arguments would steal her peace. She chooses wisdom when emotions run high. She chooses humility when pride whispers. Every choice reflects her inner strength. A queen does not chase the world. She chooses Allah, and in choosing Allah, she finds everything she was searching for. Boundaries are the crown of the believer. Boundaries are not walls built out of arrogance. They are doors guarded by wisdom. A believer sets boundaries not because she thinks she is better than others, but because she knows what her heart can and cannot carry. Allah entrusted her with a soul, and protecting that soul is an act of worship. When a woman understands this, boundaries stop feeling like guilt and start feeling like dignity. A queen who understands boundaries does not explain herself excessively. She knows that clarity does not require justification and that her no does not need permission. She sets limits calmly, firmly, and without anger, because her strength is rooted in certainty, not defensiveness. This calm authority is what makes her presence respected. Boundaries protect the heart from being slowly drained. Many women are not destroyed in one moment, but in small moments of overgiving, oversharing, and over-tolerating. The believer learns that every time she ignores her limits, she pays with her peace. Boundaries are how she preserves that peace. A queen knows that not everyone deserves access to her emotions, her time, or her energy. She understands that closeness is earned through trust, consistency, and respect. This discernment does not make her cold, it makes her wise. She loves deeply, but she loves responsibly. Boundaries also protect Iman. When a woman allows people to constantly cross her limits, her prayers weaken, her focus scatters, and her heart becomes heavy. By setting boundaries, she safeguards her relationship with Allah, ensuring that no one pulls her away from what matters most. The believer does not confuse patience with self erasure. Patience is strength with purpose, not silent suffering. Boundaries help her practice patience without harming herself. They allow her to endure tests without becoming emotionally exhausted or spiritually depleted. A queen sets boundaries in speech. She does not allow disrespectful language, mockery, or manipulation to linger in conversations. She speaks up when needed and steps back when words would only escalate harm. Her silence is intentional, not fearful. Boundaries also shape how she gives. She helps others without neglecting herself. She supports without enabling. She serves without losing her sense of self. This balance allows her generosity to remain sincere rather than resentful. A believer with boundaries does not fear being misunderstood. She knows that those who respect her limits will stay, and those who resent them reveal their intentions. This clarity saves her from investing in relationships that would eventually harm her. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. When a woman consistently honors her own limits, she communicates her worth without speaking a word. People learn what is acceptable and what is not, simply by how she carries herself. A queen understands that boundaries may cause temporary discomfort, but they prevent long term pain. Saying no today may feel difficult, but saying yes to what harms her costs far more in the future. Wisdom allows her to choose the smaller discomfort for greater peace. Boundaries are also internal. She does not allow negative self talk, constant comparison, or guilt to dominate her mind. She guards her thoughts just as carefully as she guards her time, knowing that the heart is shaped by what it entertains. A believer does not feel guilty for protecting her emotional well being. She understands that burnout does not please Allah and that caring for herself enables her to serve better. Boundaries allow her to remain whole, not hardened. A queen with boundaries does not chase people who cross them. She steps back with dignity, trusting that Allah will replace what she releases with something better. This trust frees her from fear of loss. Boundaries bring clarity to relationships. They reveal who values you for who you are and who values you only for what you give. This revelation, though sometimes painful, is a mercy from Allah. The believer who honors her boundaries becomes emotionally stable. She is no longer pulled into chaos, drama, or unnecessary conflict. Her life feels lighter because she is no longer carrying what does not belong to her. Boundaries also protect her future. By refusing to tolerate what diminishes her now, she creates space for healthier relationships, better opportunities, and deeper peace later. This foresight is a sign of maturity. A queen understands that boundaries are not rejection, they are direction. They guide her toward what aligns with her values and away from what compromises her faith. This alignment brings serenity. Boundaries allow her to say yes wholeheartedly and no confidently. She no longer feels torn between pleasing others and honoring herself. Her decisions come from clarity, not pressure. A believer who wears boundaries like a crown walks through life with quiet strength. She does not need to prove herself. She simply protects what Allah entrusted to her, her heart, her faith, and her dignity. Discipline is the queen's language. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about respect. Respect for the life Allah entrusted to you, respect for your future, and respect for your soul. A queen understands that every great transformation begins with self control. She does not wait for motivation. She builds habits. She does not depend on emotion. She depends on commitment. Through discipline, she becomes consistent in her faith, her growth, and her purpose. A queen speaks the language of discipline when she guards her prayers even when she is tired. She chooses to rise for Fajr when her body begs for rest because she knows the soul grows strongest in the moments the body resists. This quiet choice, repeated daily, builds a heart that cannot be shaken by hardship. Discipline teaches her to master her time. She does not allow hours to slip into distraction or her days to dissolve into regret. She plans, prioritizes, and protects her schedule because she knows that every moment is an amana from Allah and every second invested wisely multiplies her barakah. A queen with discipline controls her tongue. She does not speak from anger, jealousy, or impulse. She measures her words, knowing that what leaves her mouth reflects the condition of her heart. Through this restraint, she builds trust, preserves dignity, and strengthens relationships. Discipline strengthens her mind. She chooses beneficial knowledge over empty entertainment, reflection over reaction, and growth over comfort. When she feels the pull of laziness, she responds with intention. When she feels the weight of fatigue, she continues with purpose. A queen practices discipline in her emotions. She allows herself to feel, but she does not allow feelings to rule her. She turns pain into prayer, anger into reflection, and disappointment into wisdom. This emotional mastery keeps her steady when life becomes turbulent. Discipline shapes her character. She does what is right even when no one is watching, because her sincerity is with Allah, not with people. Her integrity becomes her reputation, and her consistency becomes her strength. A queen does not negotiate with her goals. She honors her commitments to herself and to Allah. Even when progress is slow, she continues. Even when the path is lonely, she remains firm. This perseverance becomes her crown. Discipline is visible in how she treats her body. She cares for her health, nourishes herself with what is beneficial, and rests when needed without falling into indulgence. She understands that strength requires balance. A queen's discipline protects her future. She does not sabotage her tomorrow for today's pleasure. She chooses what builds her over what entertains her. This foresight shields her from regret. Discipline refines her friendships. She surrounds herself with people who challenge her to be better, not comfortable. She avoids environments that weaken her resolve and chooses spaces that strengthen her iman. A queen remains disciplined in adversity. When trials arrive, she does not collapse. She adapts. She remains patient. She stays anchored in trust. This resilience is born from years of consistent effort. Discipline keeps her heart clean. She forgives quickly, releases resentment, and does not allow bitterness to settle in her soul. This emotional clarity preserves her peace. A queen practices discipline in private before it ever shows in public. Her private victories become the foundation of her public strength. She knows that what Allah sees in secret matters more than what the world sees in open. Discipline teaches her to delay gratification. She waits for what is written for her rather than forcing what is not. This patience saves her from many wounds. A queen with discipline becomes reliable. Her word holds weight. Her actions follow her intentions. Her consistency builds trust wherever she goes. Discipline strengthens her worship. Her prayers deepen. Her dua becomes sincere. Her connection with Allah becomes her greatest source of power. A queen's discipline guards her heart from temptation. She recognizes what leads her away from Allah and steps back before falling. Discipline sharpens her focus. She no longer wastes energy on what does not serve her purpose. She channels her effort into growth, service, and faith. A queen understands that discipline is not perfection, it is persistence. She allows herself to stumble without quitting, knowing that every step forward counts. Discipline gives her independence. She no longer relies on external motivation. Her drive comes from conviction. A queen's discipline transforms her environment. Her calm, her structure, and her consistency influence everyone around her. Discipline keeps her moving when others stop. It keeps her believing when others doubt. It keeps her rising when others retreat. A queen does not fear hard work. She welcomes it, knowing that effort is the bridge between prayer and manifestation. Discipline protects her from emotional chaos. She chooses clarity over confusion and order over overwhelm. A queen with discipline becomes unshakable. Storms may come, but her foundation holds. Discipline makes her life intentional. Nothing is random. Every choice reflects her values. A queen knows that discipline is the language Allah understands. Through it, she honors her faith, her future, and her worth. And when the world wonders how she became so strong, the answer is simple. She chose discipline when it was difficult, and that choice changed everything. A queen walks with purpose, not approval. A queen does not move through life seeking permission from people to exist, to grow, or to become. She walks with purpose because she understands that Allah created her for a mission, not for applause. Her steps are guided by conviction, not by the fear of being misunderstood. When a woman chooses purpose over approval, her life becomes steady, her heart becomes calm, and her path becomes clear. A queen who walks with purpose no longer measures her worth by the reactions of others. She knows that people's opinions shift with their emotions, but Allah's plan for her remains constant. This realization frees her from the exhausting cycle of trying to please everyone and allows her to focus on what truly matters. Purpose gives her direction when life feels confusing. When she does not know which door to open, she returns to her values, her faith, and her intentions. These become her compass. With every decision, she asks herself not what will be praised, but what will bring her closer to Allah. A queen does not perform goodness for attention. She serves in silence, gives with sincerity, and works with humility. Her reward is with Allah, and that is more than enough. This quiet devotion protects her from disappointment and fills her heart with peace. Walking with purpose means she is not afraid to stand alone. She understands that sometimes the road Allah chooses for her is not crowded, but it is right. She walks forward even when others question her, because she trusts the one who is guiding her. A queen with purpose is not swayed by trends, pressure, or comparison. She knows her journey is unique, and she honors it. She celebrates others without losing sight of her own calling. Purpose also shapes how she responds to hardship. She does not see trials as punishment, but as preparation. Every challenge becomes part of her growth, every obstacle part of her refinement. A queen does not chase acceptance in spaces where she is meant to lead, grow, or depart. She leaves gracefully when necessary, knowing that not every place is meant to hold her forever. Walking with purpose gives her courage to speak the truth even when it is uncomfortable. She values honesty over popularity and integrity over convenience. A queen's purpose keeps her grounded in moments of success. She does not become arrogant or forgetful of Allah. She remains grateful, remembering who granted her every blessing. Purpose allows her to say no without guilt and yes with clarity. She no longer feels torn between her heart and her obligations, because both are aligned with her values. A queen with purpose invests her energy where it matters. She does not waste her life chasing what distracts her from her growth. Walking with purpose protects her from emotional burnout. She no longer carries what does not belong to her. A queen understands that her mission is not to impress the world, but to please Allah. This understanding becomes her strength. Purpose shapes her daily habits. She wakes with intention, works with dedication, and rests with gratitude. A queen does not fear being different. She embraces it, knowing that Allah created her with a unique role. Purpose teaches her patience. She trusts Allah's timing even when progress feels slow. A queen remains focused when others lose direction. She keeps her eyes on her destination. Walking with purpose allows her to forgive and move forward without bitterness. A queen chooses growth over comfort, clarity over confusion, and faith over fear. Purpose keeps her from returning to what once weakened her. A queen's life becomes meaningful when every action reflects her beliefs. Purpose anchors her heart during uncertainty. A queen who walks with purpose becomes a source of light for others. She influences without seeking attention. Her presence inspires without demanding recognition. A queen does not live for approval because she lives for Allah. And when she walks this path, she never feels lost because her purpose leads her home. When a woman honors herself, Allah elevates her. A woman begins to rise the moment she understands that honoring herself is not pride, but obedience. Allah did not create her to be diminished, overlooked, or slowly erased by the world. He created her with dignity, with purpose, and with a soul worthy of respect. When she chooses to honor what Allah has honored, He responds by elevating her in ways no human ever could. A woman honors herself when she refuses to accept what drains her faith, her peace, or her dignity. She stops explaining why she deserves respect and begins living in a way that reflects it. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first, but it opens doors to a level of peace she has never known. When she honors herself, she becomes careful with her time. She no longer spends her hours trying to rescue others while abandoning her own growth. She invests in her prayer, her learning, her health, and her purpose, knowing that a balanced life is a form of worship. A woman who honors herself protects her heart. She does not allow manipulation, disrespect, or emotional chaos to settle in her soul. She understands that her heart is an amana from Allah, and she treats it as something precious, not disposable. Honoring herself also means honoring her limits. She knows when to give, when to pause, and when to step away. This wisdom prevents burnout and preserves her strength for what truly matters. A woman who honors herself becomes selective with her relationships. She no longer allows anyone access to her life who does not bring respect, sincerity, and alignment with her values. This discernment is not arrogance, it is maturity. When she honors herself, her confidence becomes calm. She does not need to prove anything to anyone. Her security comes from knowing who she is in the sight of Allah, not from the approval of people. Allah elevates the woman who chooses self-respect over self-neglect. He replaces what she releases with better companions, clearer direction, and stronger faith. A woman honors herself when she speaks with honesty and listens with wisdom. She no longer hides her voice out of fear of being misunderstood. When she honors herself, her presence becomes peaceful. People feel it when she enters a room. It is the presence of someone who is aligned with her purpose. A woman who honors herself stops apologizing for existing. She walks with quiet confidence, knowing that her worth is already written by Allah. Allah elevates her through her character. Her patience becomes visible, her kindness sincere, and her boundaries respected. When she honors herself, she becomes an example for others. Her life teaches more than her words ever could. A woman honors herself when she chooses growth over comfort. She faces her fears, heals her wounds, and moves forward with courage. Allah elevates her by opening doors she never chased, placing her in spaces she never imagined, and surrounding her with people who value her presence. A woman who honors herself is no longer controlled by past pain. She learns from it without being defined by it. She honors herself when she forgives, not because others deserve it, but because her heart deserves peace. When she honors herself, She stops comparing her journey to others. She trusts the timing Allah has written for her. Allah elevates her by strengthening her iman. Her connection with Him becomes her greatest source of power. A woman who honors herself no longer begs for love. She attracts it through her dignity. She honors herself when she rests without guilt and works without resentment. Allah elevates her by making her life meaningful, even when it is quiet. A woman who honors herself becomes resilient. She does not break when tested. She grows. She honors herself when she chooses hope over despair, faith over fear. Allah elevates her by protecting her from what would have harmed her. A woman who honors herself walks away from what diminishes her, even when it is difficult. She honors herself when she stands firm in her values, even when alone. Allah elevates her because she chose herself for the sake of Him. And when she looks back, she realizes that every time she honored herself, Allah was guiding her closer to the life she was always meant to live. A queen does not beg for attention. She commands respect through her character. She moves with calm, speaks with wisdom, and walks with faith. When you honor yourself, Allah honors you. When you raise your standards, Allah raises your life. When you protect your heart, Allah protects your destiny. So stand tall, guard your heart, strengthen your iman, and never forget you were not created to survive this world. You were created to rise above it. You are a queen. Start acting like one.